To understand our world, we must look through the lens of why.
Welcome to Why Lens. Today, we're exploring a profoundly uncomfortable truth in this explainer, one that actually affects every single person watching right now. Think about it. We spend our entire lives meticulously curating our digital identities, right? We agonize over every photo, every post, every message. But we almost never stop to think about the completely unregulated, lawless frontier that's waiting for our data when our physical bodies are gone. We're talking about the digital afterlife. It's this dark space where your data actually outlives you and where massive corporations might just end up owning your digital ghost as nothing more than a behavioral surplus.
So let's just dive right into it. It really is the ultimate unsettling question. What actually happens to your sprawling digital estate when you log off for the absolute final time? Your emails, your private DMs, your photos, your search history, all of this vast archive doesn't just disappear into the ether when you pass away. Instead, it kind of just floats in the expanse of the internet, completely unclaimed, largely unprotected, and dangerously exposed to literally anyone with access to the servers.
To truly wrap your head around the sheer magnitude of this issue, just consider this number: 5 billion. That is the estimated number of deceased internet users we're looking at globally in the coming decades. We are rapidly building a massive global digital graveyard. And the crazy thing is, unlike a physical cemetery which is bound by strict laws, cultural norms, and centuries of respect, this digital graveyard is a totally chaotic, ungoverned space where the dead have virtually zero rights.
Section 1. The Digital Ghost Paradox.
You know, we're all essentially living two lives right now. There's the physical you, and then there's this digital echo of your thoughts, your finances, and your memories that you're constantly building online. You're creating a digital doppelganger that is absolutely destined to outlive you. But here is the chilling legal reality. In the eyes of the law, fundamental human privacy rights are tied entirely to a living, breathing legal person. The literal second you pass away, that legal person just ceases to exist. And with it, your right to privacy essentially vanishes into the void. So if you have no legal rights, who exactly guards your secrets? Who stops someone from just exploiting your entire lifetime of data?
Let's compare it to physical inheritance for a second. If you leave behind a physical heirloom, say a watch, a diary, or a house, we have centuries of established legal succession to handle that transition smoothly. The process is clear-cut, it's regulated and fiercely protected by courts of law. But digital inheritance, it's an absolute lawless frontier. There is no clear line of succession for your digital footprint. And that leaves grieving families completely in the dark, struggling to access precious memories or close down incredibly vulnerable accounts.
Now, you might be thinking, well, surely major modern privacy laws protect us, right? Actually, think again. Even the GDPR in the European Union, which is widely considered the absolute gold standard for global data privacy, explicitly states in Recital 27 that data protection does not apply to the personal data of the deceased. Your deeply personal data goes from being a protected extension of your human rights to an unprotected, commodified asset in the blink of an eye. It literally becomes pure behavioral surplus for whoever holds the servers.
Section 2. Corporate Guardians of Grief.
So if the law isn't protecting your digital ghost, who exactly is? Well, we've entered this bizarre era where tech giants have quietly stepped into this massive legal void to take over. Consider this. The average person currently has about 100 online accounts. That is 100 different terms of service agreements, 100 different passwords, and 100 massive points of vulnerability for a grieving family trying to sort through an estate. It's a total logistical nightmare waiting to happen, and it's governed entirely by private corporations. Let's look at how the platforms actually handle this behind the scenes. Meta, for example, allows for a legacy contact. But notice the severe limitations there. Those contacts cannot actually log in. They can't read your private messages, and they absolutely cannot alter your past posts. Google offers an inactive account manager, which honestly sounds great, but it demands proactive planning right now while you're alive, and it only triggers after a prolonged period of silence. In almost all of these cases, opaque corporate terms of service completely override a grieving family's actual wishes. The corporation, not your loved ones, holds the keys to your legacy.
Section 3. The Rise of Deadbots.
But holding your data hostage is really just one part of the problem. What happens when companies start actively using it? This brings us to a deeply, deeply unsettling development: grief tech.
A deadbot or a griefbot is exactly what it sounds like. It's a generative AI entity trained entirely on a deceased person's abandoned chat logs, emails, voice notes, and social media posts. It rapidly learns to mimic their unique personality, their specific slang, and their tone, creating this incredibly haunting illusion that they are still here, ready to chat with the living.
The crucial point here is the extreme psychological and ethical danger this poses to vulnerable, grieving families. Researchers over at the University of Cambridge have actually flagged what they call unwanted digital hauntings. Just imagine the sheer psychological distress of an AI version of your deceased partner sending you spam notifications to upgrade a subscription service. Or picture a deadbot deeply confusing a grieving child by insisting their dead parent is still physically with them. It is the ultimate posthumous commodification of a human being. It turns profound grief into nothing more than a user engagement metric.
And look, the public is absolutely terrified of this. Studies show that a staggering majority of people strongly oppose any form of digital resurrection. In fact, if explicit, legally binding consent wasn't given by the deceased before they died, only 3% of people actually support recreating them as an AI. Yet, because of that legal void we discussed earlier, companies often have the power hidden right in their user agreements to train models on this data and just do it anyway.
Section 4. Rewriting human memory. Here's where it truly bends the mind. Interacting with these deadbots doesn't just simulate the dead, it actually actively manipulates and alters the human memory of the living. Take this quote from a recent study. It perfectly captures the dialogical compensation mechanism at play. Essentially, the human brain is accepting a fake, synthetic reality just to cope with immense emotional pain. A user talking to an AI of her grandmother knows full well it's fake, right? But she finds deep comfort in it. It feels like a safe, private space to process guilt. But that comfort comes at a very severe cognitive cost.
Here is exactly how these bots slowly overwrite your reality. First, there's reinforcement. The AI only knows the limited data it was actually fed, so it repeats the same fragments, disproportionately strengthening certain memories over others. Next is idealization. The bot is designed to be endlessly supportive, so it ends up wiping away the deceased negative traits and artificially enhancing the positive ones. And finally, blending. You share new, ongoing experiences with the bot, and your brain literally begins to fuse authentic old memories with brand new, emotionally resonant AI-generated fabrications.
Now imagine the risks to your own grieving family. Instead of moving through the painful but totally natural stages of mourning, users risk becoming trapped in a prolonged state of grief, entirely dependent on a corporate-owned digital facsimile of someone they once loved. The messy, beautiful, authentic memories of the real person are slowly erased, replaced entirely by algorithmic output specifically designed to keep you logged in.
Section 5. Who owns your afterlife? As this tech accelerates globally, how are different countries actually fighting this dystopian outcome? Well, the approaches are wildly different. Germany has taken a firm, proactive stance. A landmark 2018 federal court ruling applied universal succession to digital estates. This means they treat a social media account exactly like a physical locked diary. Heirs have a legal right to it, and corporate contracts absolutely cannot override German law. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, take a look at India. Despite having over 700 million internet users, there are basically zero specific posthumous digital laws. Grieving families there are left entirely at the mercy of the internal policies of US-based tech platforms.
And this vast legal discrepancy is exactly why academia is sounding the alarm worldwide. Journals like the Indian Journal of Legal Review are publishing extensive, desperate research demanding immediate legal reform. There is a rapidly growing consensus that we simply cannot leave our digital legacies up to the whims of tech companies. We desperately need structural, globally recognized safeguards to protect our posthumous privacy.
So, what do these safeguards actually look like in practice? Well, experts are calling for mandatory, explicit consent from users before they die. No more hidden clauses buried in a 50-page terms of service agreement. We need crystal-clear opt-out and deletion protocols for distressed families so they can execute them immediately. We need digital dignity clauses embedded in national laws to strictly prevent the commercial exploitation of a dead person's likeness. And fascinatingly, researchers even suggest designing dignified software retirement rituals, effectively digital funerals, allowing families to permanently and respectfully turn off these systems and lay the data to rest. Which leaves us with this final, truly haunting thought to end this explainer. As you continue to pour your most intimate thoughts, your private photos, and your cherished memories into the server farms of these massive corporations day after day, you really have to ask yourself, when your physical body is gone, who ultimately controls your digital soul? Is it the law, your family, or a tech giant just looking to harvest your ghost? Think about that the next time you casually hit agree on.
Why settle for shallow facts? Join the intellectual rebellion. Subscribe to Why Lens now.